after this webinar. So, what is the roadmap? What is the roadmap? The roadmap is a system. The roadmap is a formula. The roadmap is a blueprint. It's a system of moving a person from where they are today in terms of real estate, in terms of investments, to where they want to be. That is what the roadmap is. And the purpose for the roadmap is to show you how to simplify this process, how to simplify the process of real estate acquisition. What I can tell you from my experience, and of course, all of you have been in my email system, have been doing this for the last 20 years, and I've observed a few things. And one of the things that I've observed is that people most people have the wrong information about real estate in general. Most people have the wrong information about real estate in general. That's number one. And number two, most people have the wrong information about the Kenyan real estate market. That's the second one. Most people have the wrong information about the Kenyan real estate market. So, what I will be trying to help you today as I show you the roadmap, how to walk through this path, is I will give you the system, and I will also demystify a few theories, a few myths that you may have that are incorrect. Yeah. Uh, the media, thrives on sensational information. A lot of information that we receive on real estate is not entirely true. It may have some little speck of truth in it, but it's been sensationalized. Yesterday, I actually read an article on Facebook where somebody is saying that there's a huge bubble that has exploded in Nairobi and in Kenya in general with regard to real estate. Well, uh, whereas a few of the items listed in that article I saw on Facebook were almost true. They were looking in the right direction, but the vast majority was purely emotional. This guy was just writing his own experiences, his bad experiences with being a real estate developer, but his bad experience with being a real estate developer, building houses and not being able to sell. And of course, people consume all this information, especially when it's loaded with a lot of emotion. So the roadmap is the very simplified process. I usually call it the path of least resistance. Think of it in terms of the way a river flows down a mountain. A river doesn't fight with the mountain. The mountain is very hard to climb for a human being, but a river doesn't fight with the mountain. The river looks for the areas that align with gravitational pull and or push, whichever word you want to use, and it follows that route. The river follows the path of least resistance. So the roadmap that I'm going to give you today will be similar to the way a river flows down a mountain. Yes, my presentation is loaded up, guys. I think you can see it now. We're going to dance. We're going to have some fun today on how you can master real estate investments within a very short period of time, how you can implement the resources that you have to creating a portfolio that will work for you. I think I need somebody just to confirm that you can see what is loaded on my screen. You can see my presentation, so that I can take off immediately. James O2, let me know whether you can see my presentation, so that we have some fun, so that we rock this space. Okay, yes, Ted tells me that he can see the presentation. So wonderful. So, um, the roadmap is comprised of 5 stages, and the 5 stages that I have curated in this book are, akin to. Thank you, Meshach, for confirming that you can see the presentation. Yes. So let's take off. The roadmap is a 5 stage blueprint. It's a 5 stage formula, and these 5 stages help the investor to move in a systematic process. Think of it like building a house. If you have ever attempted to build a house, you will confirm to me and to everyone in this webinar that there was a system that you used. There were things that had to be done first before anything else. There was, casting the foundation was one of the first things that you had to do before you built the walls. And you had to build the walls before you even thought about having a roof. I have simple photos here on this slide here just to show you how this thing works. And of course, it follows, casting the foundation, erecting the walls, roofing, doing internal and external finishes, then fitting and fixtures. Yeah, it's not possible. It's if you've ever built a small house or a big house for that matter, it's not possible to to have fitting and fixtures on walls that do not exist. So you have to have the walls ready before you do fittings and fixtures. I remember one time I was doing a small house, and I had bought all the materials. I'd bought the sand, I'd bought the stones, the bricks, and bought the pipes, and bought the tiles, and everything was in a storage area. But there was no way I was going to use all that material unless I'd casted the foundation. Yeah. So this is how investing works. And like I said at the beginning, is that most people have the wrong information, and those who have the right information tend to use it in the wrong order. Yeah, there are some people who think if I have the money, I'm ready for investing. I am ready for investing if I have the money. If I have a million bob today, if I have 2 million bob today, then I'm ready for investing in real estate. You are not. If you have no clue as to how investing works, if you have no clue as to what exactly is your objective, because when it comes to investing in real estate, acquisition is not the issue. Acquisition is not a problem. It's the last thing. It's the last thing we do, as you're going to experience throughout the the roadmap, throughout this webinar on the 5 stages. Acquisition is usually the last thing. But what happens with most people is when they have some little money, they quickly go and do an acquisition. Then after 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, they discover, oh my God, this was the wrong acquisition. This was the wrong property to buy. I cannot tell you how many times I take my clients through this process and they actually have to sell their present portfolio because it is not serving them, because it was not organized in the right sequence. It was not organized in the right sequence. So the roadmap that we're going to talk about today is to show you the right sequence of events, the right sequence of thinking, the right sequence of acting. So, what are these 5 stages? And I hope, guys, you've got your notebook somewhere. You want to take as much notes as possible. And I will take you through these 5 stages in a very easy way that you're going to understand, and you're actually going to be able to implement these stages. So, Here is the 5 stages. The 5 stages to mastering real estate. The 5 stages to implementing a profitable real estate investment portfolio. The 5 stages. Stage number one, mastery of the target. Mastery of the target. This is the primary stage that most people ignore, most people don't know about. Every piece of real estate you see, I like to say that when you look out of your window, it doesn't matter whether you're driving, doesn't matter whether when you're in your house, doesn't matter whether you're in school, in class, or wherever you are. When you throw, a gaze outside of your window, what are you going to see? You're going to see real estate. So, so if you're not careful, you're going to be buying the wrong thing because real estate is everywhere. You are faced with, when you look outside, you're going to see a block of flats, for example, or you're going to see a bungalow, you're going to see a maisonette, you're going to see an office block, you're going to see a church, you're going to see a road. All that stuff you're going to see belongs to somebody. All right. And it's a piece of real estate. That's what we are talking about. All that stuff belongs to someone. And what it means is that the day you will wake up and say, I need to invest, I need to buy something. So you'll be faced with a thousand options will be thrown at you. And most of them will be screaming. Most of them will be shiny objects. I like telling people to be very careful of a disease I call the shiny object syndrome. If you do not have the roadmap, if you do not know how to move forward, you're going to buy the shiniest object on the street. And that's why the target is important. What do you need to buy? This is what you need to buy. You need to buy a piece of real estate that serves your objectives as an investor. Write that down. You only need to buy the piece of real estate that serves your objective. All right. I hope that idea is well consolidated. So, what is the second stage? The second stage is what I call mastery of the 3 P's. Mastery of the 3 P's. I know in real estate, there's something we call the 3 L's of real estate: location, location, location. Now, here is the 3 P's of real estate investments: practice, practice, practice. Write that down. Practice, practice, practice. Uh, we take a lot of things for granted. For example, we think we learn, we just walk naturally. Yes, you practiced how to walk when you were 1 year, 6 months, or the age that you are able to finally stop crawling. Can you remember that? Can you remember that? You did practice, practice, practice. But guys don't want to do this with real estate. Okay, so you with real estate, you've got to do the same thing. You've got to practice, practice, practice. Okay. How did you get to know how to drive? You had to practice, practice, practice. I'll be sharing with you a story about how I learned how to drive, how I crashed through my uncle's maize plantation in an effort to learn how to drive. So, real estate investing is similar to learning how to drive. So, practice, practice, practice. Yesterday, I was reading that article about somebody who never did this. They were complaining how real estate is bad. They are complaining how real estate is overpriced. That may be true, but that doesn't mean that you are not going to make a profitable investment. I will show you a formula. I will show you a formula that will ensure that you implement a profitable investment irrespective of the direction the market is moving. It doesn't matter whether the market is moving south or north or east or west. All right. That is the second stage that you need to master. So what is the third stage? The third stage is mastery of leverage. Leverage is a tool that investors use to accelerate their growth of their portfolio. If you want to build a portfolio to retire on and you have 5 years remaining, most people give up when they wake up and they discover, oh my goodness, I am due for retirement in 3 years. I'm due for retirement in 5 years. So what do you do? What do you do? I will show you how to use leverage to accelerate your acquisition, to help you build a portfolio, that you can retire on within a considerable period of time. Within 5 years, within 10 years, you can build a portfolio using leverage. But of course, you've got to remember that leverage, when it is not properly applied, leads to the whole thing coming down as a house of cards. Your portfolio can easily come down as a house of cards if you don't have mastery. The key word today, the key word is mastery. Come on, you guys. Do you want to be masters of real estate? Why don't you type something there and say you actually want to become a master? You want to become a master. You want to do something. Okay. So the fourth stage in the 5-stage blueprint, the fourth stage in the 5-stage formula is mastery of pipelines. Why is mastery of pipelines important? Mastery of pipelines is important because my experience has shown me that most investors, when they implement an investment, they connect to a pipeline, but instead of receiving the water from the pipeline is actually sucking water from them. I hope you're not one of those guys who is having a portfolio whereby it is sucking money out of your pocket. You have an investment, you did an investment 2 years ago, and it is sucking money out of your pocket. Yeah. So that means you don't have mastery of pipelines. You have mastery of something else. Okay. So I will be explaining that and why it is very important. The final fifth stage in the 5-stage formula, in the 5-stage blueprint, is mastery of the spring effect. The spring effect is the culmination of an investor's mastery of the investing process. What happens when you have mastery of the spring effect is that you are able to have a smooth ride throughout your investment process, throughout future investments, throughout receiving of your rent, throughout the growth of your equity. And the reason why you have the spring effect is because you have followed these stages in their right order, and you actually are benefiting from a robust foundation. We talked about that. You're benefiting from a robust foundation. And you have a portfolio that is solid, that takes care of any gaps. When COVID shows up, when a few tenants are not able to pay rent, you have others who are paying rent without a problem. But the guy who has one tenant and the tenant is not able to pay rent, they have no income whatsoever. Okay. So it means that there's a stage they missed. Actually, probably the second stage. They failed to master practice, practice, practice. So they actually have the wrong idea about how real estate works. So today I want to clear all your questions. I want to show you the formula that works. I want you to have a method in your hands that will help you move forward, accumulate the portfolio that you want, and actually go all the way to freedom, all the way to financial freedom. So let's check whether guys are paying attention to what I'm saying, or whether guys are enjoying what I'm talking about. Yeah, why don't we type something small on the chat box and say, yes, Malimo, we are getting it loud and clear. It's wonderful. It's interesting, so that we can move on to the next ideas. Come on, guys, type something. Let me know that this is making sense. I hope I'm not talking about jargon, not using too much complex English. I'm not throwing you off track. I need to know. I need to know. I can see Steve is typing. Yes, Ted says he's enjoying the session so far. Wonderful. Thank you very much, Ted. Steve is typing. I can see James Utu is typing. Wonderful, guys. So let's enjoy this. Let's enjoy this. So in the roadmap, in the book, the roadmap, um, Karanja, thank you very much. You said it's flowing well. Steve is enjoying. So this is beautiful. In the book, The Roadmap, I shared a small story about Susan. And Susan was my client 10 years back, a couple of years, more than 10 years back, whom we met when she was buying a house. And she was buying a house in Maradaima. And I was consulting for her. But what I discovered after that is one of the reasons why I created Investor Clinics. Those who have come for my workshops, those who have been, involved in my training programs. I share a story, on how I began this program. And one of the experiences I had before I actually created the program was the story of Susan, where, she was buying a property and she was missing one of the stages that I'm talking about. Actually, she was missing all the stages. She was buying the wrong type of property and she was struggling to make that acquisition right. She was buying a two-bedroom house in Imaradaima, and of course, I consulted for her. I was the her real estate consultant. She was not based in Nairobi. She was based overseas, so she had a challenge. She had very little time to be around, and you know, she had a problem of how she was going to complete this whole process without being based locally. So I stepped in as a consultant and I did all that process for her through her lawyers, through her financials, and everything else was done. But what is important in today's roadmap is that along the way, and after we had actually completed the acquisition, we discovered, or Susan discovered, that this was actually not the type of property she should have been acquiring. You noticed I talked about mastery of targets. So she bought a two-bedroom house in Imaradaima. But actually, when we sat down on a Skype call and we discussed why she was doing this acquisition, we discovered that she would have acquired a slightly different piece of real estate that was going to help her acquire the next piece of real estate. So I'll be referring to that process very often throughout this presentation. Any piece of real estate that you acquire should be positioned in a way that it helps you acquire the next. What most people do is they acquire a piece of real estate today and it blocks any possible acquisition in the future. So what happens in the end, after your 20 years of working, your 30 years of working, or whatever period is remaining for you, you realize you only have one acquisition. And that one acquisition doesn't help you retire comfortably. So what you need is a portfolio, a series of investments, several properties, not single property. A home would be beautiful for that purpose. Your single property, you want to live there, your children will be enjoying that. But retirement requires income. Retirement requires passive income, income that can help you pay your bills, participate in your church, in your service, in the community. So where will that money be coming from? Governments today are no longer giving those benefits that people used to get. And if they are, the amount of money is very little. Okay. So you need to have a nice, well nested investment portfolio that you can bank on, that you will be receiving money from. Okay. To pay your bills, to travel wherever you want, to take care of your medication, to take care of education of your children or your grandchildren, or to do whatever you want to do. Okay. So Susan discovered when we had the discovery session. That's the second point that I've written there. She discovered that she had been buying the wrong asset class. She had been buying the wrong real estate class. She had a bunch of plots here and there, and she had a bunch of houses. I think this was probably the fourth investment that she was making in, but that portfolio did not seem to be helping her to move forward. The portfolio did not seem to be helping her to have the right portfolio that was going to propel her to easy retirement. So what did we do? What we did with Susan is a process I call backward thinking. Backward thinking. Backward thinking means that I took Susan to where she wanted to go. Then we worked backwards to discover the route that she needed to take. Does that make sense? We designated where she wanted to go. Then we walked backwards in order to discover the path of least resistance. Okay. So we did this backward thinking process to define the path that she was going to follow. And of course, that time the five-stage blueprint was not as curated as it is today. It was not as as simple, as simplified as it is today, but nonetheless, we implemented it. And in 10 years, actually, Susan was able to accumulate a portfolio that is actually at present able to take care of her retirement. And of course, I have many stories of my clients. Yesterday I was working with one of my clients in where was it? This was in Boroboro. We found something so interesting in Boroboro yesterday. As I was working with her. So I've got so many stories of different Susans, different Jacks, different Johns that we have worked with. But today I want to show you how this system works so that you can be in a position to implement the five stages. All right? Beautiful, beautiful. So don't worry if you have challenges to do with capital. I know that's one of the major challenges that people have. So don't worry if you have challenges to do with the complexity of the process. You don't know where to start. I want to show you where to start. It's going to be fun. It's going to be easy. All right. So the five stages begin with stage number one. Let me go to this slide. This stage number one. The stage number one is the most wonderful of stages. And this is where we do mastery of targets. I like telling this story. When I was a young boy, I enjoyed hunting. I always went with my elder brothers and the boys in the neighborhood, my cousins, and many other guys to hunt for hares and dik-diks in the bush. And for many years I was not able to hit anything. I was not able to catch a prey. I was not able to hit my mark. And we had a guy in the book you must have read. There was a guy that used to be a sharpshooter. So all of us were always amazed at how this guy was able to shoot these dik-diks, to shoot these hares, with ease. Every time we went with him, he always, hit his mark. But none of us were able to do that. So one day I decided I'm going to hit this mark. I'm going to become one of the sharpshooters. So we split our roles in the bush, and I positioned myself in a place where the animals were going to be crossing so that I could get a chance to shoot. Of course, very quickly guys went around beating about the bushes to get the animals out of their hiding places, and before I knew it, a big, very large dik-dik was coming my way, and I was supposed to shoot it. It was being chased by a dog. I was supposed to shoot it. So before I prepared myself, the thing was right in front of me. It didn't follow the road as I thought it was going to follow the road, but it crashed through the bush that I was hiding under. It came straight for my body. So I had to scatter, I had to rush and throw away my bow and arrow. And, by the time I recollected myself, it was vanishing down in the bush. So I did my last ditch effort, you know, aligned my arrow and released the arrow towards the animal. And I missed the animal and hit the dog. Now that small story, that ridiculous small story, basically serves to show you how many people are unprepared and don't know what property to acquire. They miss their mark, they miss their target, and end up hitting the wrong target. I hit the dog. The dog did not die because my energy was not as adequate. I was a young boy. But the point it serves to show you is that if you do not understand what you're supposed to acquire, what asset you're supposed to acquire, you will be misfiring. You'll be acquiring the wrong assets. When I'm helping my clients with the discovery session, we go through what they have acquired prior to meeting me. And oftentimes, many times, we find a bunch of properties that are not serving them, a bunch of properties that are in the wrong place. This is misfiring. Yeah, you've used your energy like I did as a small boy. You've aimed thinking that you're actually going to hit your mark, but you miss or you hit the wrong thing. You've put in money on a piece of real estate. You're struggling very hard to pay for the loans, for the mortgage, and the property is not helping you. So why should you keep such a portfolio? That's one of the challenges that I want to throw to you. Why should you keep, would you keep a portfolio? Would you keep a piece of real estate that is not helping you to acquire the next piece of real estate? One of the major ideas that I want you to take home from today is that any acquisition that you make going forward after today's webinar should serve to help you acquire the next. And I will show you why that is important in the fourth stage. In the fourth stage, I'll show you why it's important that you have total mastery of targets. So you have to know what asset class, what properties are you going to buy? Are you going to buy bungalows? Are you going to buy maisonettes? Are you going to buy land? Are you going to buy multiple dweller units? What are you going to buy? Are you going to buy an office? Are you going to buy a factory? What are you going to buy? Come on, guys. So mastery of target is very crucial. Let me hear you guys what you want to buy, what you're going to buy, and how you think mastery of target is crucial. I've already given you the answer. Why the target is crucial. Come on, guys. I want you to type there and tell me why mastery is important, and tell me the type of asset class that you think is important that is going to help you move to the next acquisition. Come on. So let's have you guys telling me why. I want you to tell me why mastery of the target, the asset class, is critical in your investment portfolio. Yeah, I can see Ted is typing. I can see George is typing. Wonderful. I'm waiting to hear what you guys have to say about why mastery important. This is a simple stage that most people ignore. They just go straight, boom, my cousin bought this, I'm going to buy this. Boom. They place in a lot of resources, but somewhere down the line they're struggling. It's very hard. They are fighting with the bank and they don't understand why. So what I want you to think about is a real estate portfolio is a real estate asset class that actually helps you. Do you think that is possible? Let me hear what you guys have to say. Okay, the messages are coming here. Wonderful, Laban, so that you can, in Laban's opinion. Okay, let's see. Let me bring this to this side so that I can enjoy these comments. All right. So James saying, no, James was commenting earlier. To help achieve, George says to achieve financial independence. Wonderful. Yes, George is right. George says mastery of the target, the asset class that you're going to buy is crucial so that it helps you achieve your final objective, which is financial independence. Wonderful, George. Let's see what Laban says. Laban says so that you can easily create a roadmap to get to the target, to the desired destination. Yes, Laban, you're right. It's important to have mastery of the target, the asset class. I want this to be as simple as possible. It's important to master the asset class that you're going to buy because it's supposed to take you to your final destination. Okay, so that's great from Laban. We have Ted says, in his opinion, mastery of target is important because it helps define your expectations of property. Wonderful, wonderful, Ted. This is brilliant. The property has an objective, and if the property is not serving your objective, then you have no business buying that property. Makes sense, Lab. I mean, that came from Laban. Yes, makes a lot of sense. No, that came from Ted. That came from Ted. Wonderful, Ted Miano there. Let's see what Laban says. I'm thinking about one bedroom and two bedroom apartments. Yes, so that's a specific class. As we go along, Laban, listen carefully. What the other stages are requiring you to master. Then we will come back to your whether you're going to buy a one bedroom or a two bedroom apartment. Okay, Steve says mastery of target is vital to ensure you have a viable portfolio. Exactly. What's the use of having a portfolio that's not viable, that's not helping you, that's removing money from your pocket? Okay, so target, mastery of a target is very, very crucial. Let's see what Karanja says. Karanja says acquiring a plot because it is being sold, and one has many, is not tactical. Very critical learning through late. Okay, Karanja says you're learning a lot of interesting material here. Acquiring plots, is being sold and one has money is not tactical. Yeah, yeah, you're right. So the fact that you have the money in your pocket, predisposes you to buying the wrong stuff. What you need to have is the roadmap in advance, so that when you go out, you can actually buy the right property. You can target. You're actually targeted. I mean, it's very easy. Go out there and practice targeting. I'll show you how I can help you do that practice, that practice of targeting. Okay, wonderful, brilliant, guys. Thank you very much, guys, for participating. Did I miss somebody? Let's see. Yeah, that was the last comment. Wonderful. Let's go to the second stage. Let's go to the second stage and have some fun with the second stage. So the second stage is mastery of the 3 Ps. Okay, let's bring the slide. Okay, mastery of the 3 Ps. Mastery of the 3 Ps. In the book, I shared with you a very interesting story, how I learned how to drive. When I was in high school, had this desire to learn how to drive. And what happened was that I went to the library, took books and read and got to understand how the manual transmission of an automobile works. And I was so excited to know, oh yeah, this is how you do. You clutch in, you put gear one, you release the clutch, you pump the accelerator, and the car is supposed to move. And of course, I also shared the story of how I used to enjoy, going to the hospital, and I used to watch the driver. I used to watch, the driver, the guy who was driving the bus, come from complete stop all the way to very high speeds, climbing the hills, changing the gears. And I thought I was good. I was good to go. So what most people think is that, this webinar is wonderful, it's beautiful. I'm teaching you a lot of stuff. Yeah. But it's not the real experience. It's not acquiring a piece of real estate. You can read books. I love books. You can see a couple of books behind. Some I've written, others are from other authors. And we tend to think that when you read an idea, a concept from a book, you actually know it. And that's not true. What happens is that you have the information. And information and knowledge are two different things. You have the information, but you do not have the knowledge. Knowledge comes from experience. Knowledge comes from experience. And how do you get experience? You get experience from practice. You get experience from practice. So what did I do? I stole my brother's car. He came to our village home. He had a few friends, and they left for the market to go hang out, and he left the car there because my dad wanted to go somewhere with the car. And I was given the keys, so I stole the car, got in and tried whatever it is that I had read in the library and what I had seen my guy, my driver, my brilliant driver do every time I went to the hospital. So what happened is a disaster. What followed was a complete disaster. I crashed through my dad's stuff, the cow shed, and the fence and the maize plantation, belonging to my uncle. It was a complete disaster. So what lesson do we learn from my small experience from that? The lesson we learn is that, practice practice makes not perfect. You can practice the wrong thing. I was practicing, ideas, abstract ideas in my head. I had practiced them for many years, and I had mastered the wrong thing. I had the wrong idea because I'd never done it. I'd never done it in the smallest way possible. So what do we want to do in this real estate investing journey that we want to embark on? We want to practice with the right material. We want to practice with the right things, and we want to practice small. We want to start small. So what I usually encourage people to do is to do, what I call perfect practice, because perfect practice makes perfect. Not, you can practice, if you practice the wrong thing, you'll become perfect in the wrong thing. Does that make sense, guys? If you practice the wrong thing, you'll become perfect in the wrong thing. I think somebody talked about buying plots left, right, center. If you practice that, you're going to end up with a bunch of land everywhere, but you're broke. Okay? But if you understand what you're doing, you'll end up with a bunch of land that can be built to give you income, or that can be leveraged to give you income generating properties. But if you do not know what to practice, you will not achieve your objective. You will do the wrong things. You will acquire the wrong properties. Emotions will take over, and you'll end up buying shiny objects. You'll end up buying shiny objects. So, how do you do it? This is how I recommend you do it. This is how I recommend you do it. Once you've mastered the first stage, which is the target, you've pinpointed this is the asset class that I need to buy, then you need to start small, as small as you can, small as possible. Start with 1, 2 million, 3, 4, 5 million. Your definition of small, you know, this is the reason why starting small is very crucial. You're going to make mistakes. Let me promise you that. Nobody was born knowing anything. Everything we know, including the wrong things, we learned. We were taught. The wrong things we are doing, we were taught. Okay. And the right things that we do, we were taught. also. So what do I want to suggest here? What I'm suggesting here is that you practice starting with small things so that you check the knowledge that you have. You check the information that I have given you, whether it works. So you start small and practice regularly. Most people invest, in December when they get their bonus. Most people invest, when they have money in the pocket. What I want to recommend is that you have to take investing as a lifestyle. Probably you need to write that down. Investing is a lifestyle, it's not an event. If you invest as an event, if you invest whenever you have money, the agents, the brokers, the marketers will be singing all the way to the bank with your money, because you're going to see them only when you have money. It's an event that you want to complete as fast as possible. So they will use the nice language they use, and quickly you'll be parted with your money. And they, of course, they don't care what happens after that. You've bought your property, whether it serves you or it doesn't serve you. It's not their business. They are marketers. I've sold property for 20 years, and I know the language that we use when we want to cut a deal very quickly. Okay, so you don't want to be in the mercy of agents. You don't want to be in the mercy of brokers. You want to go to the market knowing what you want, knowing what you want to buy. When you have mastery of the target, the asset class, then you start small and do practice. You buy first. You could be having some money. You could have saved some huge amount of money somewhere. I recommend you don't use all of it in your first acquisition. Test your knowledge, test the market, buy small, repeat again, buy three, four, five acquisitions, and check whether what we said in the first stage, check whether the acquisitions that you're making are actually taking you in the right direction. Are they taking you to retirement, or they are removing money from your pocket? I know most of you may be having a lot of questions, Mark. How can you buy a property and it's not removing money from your pocket? Yeah, when you buy a rental property, it's not supposed to remove money from your pocket. It's supposed to put money in your pocket. All right. So the second stage is very crucial. And it is, let me be honest with you guys, this is a stage that nobody wants to do. Everybody wants to go it big so that when they go to their local, they can tell everyone, you know what, yes, niko na hii bana. Nilipata ile. Wewe ulikuwa unaniambia juzi ulinunua ile nyumba pale, sio Kimao pale, Juja, hata mi nimenunua, hata mi niko nayo. But of course, if you're not careful, if you don't know why you're doing this acquisition, that acquisition could actually bring down your portfolio. It can puncture a very big hole in your income statement. It can puncture a big hole in your income financial bucket, and that means you cannot buy the second, the third, the fourth. So you've got to practice with the small property, the right target, and see whether it will actually propel you to the second acquisition. So let's see whether guys are paying attention. Why is practice important? Why is practice necessary? Why is practice necessary? And how do you do it? How do you do it? Guys, let's have people typing, people saying why the mastery of the three P's. Why practice, practice, practice. And by the way, guys, I'm saying this again. This is a stage that most people miss totally. They work for 5 years, for 10 years, for 15 years, for 20 years. And when they go to acquisition, they do the biggest acquisition possible to them. And what do you think happens? If you make a mistake, the mistake is big. The error is huge. So you want to play and practice with the small things so that if there is a mistake, The mistake is small. Yes, George says practice is important to mitigate risk. Wonderful. Beautiful, George. Beautiful, George. So small is good to mitigate risk, to mitigate mistakes because it's natural. Mimi nilifyeka mahindi nilifyeka mahindi ya anko yangu because I had not done practice. Sasa wewe unataka kufyeka nini? Utafyeka pesa yako, utafyeka pesa yako yote kutoka kwa benki ama uchukue loan kubwa, because you haven't done you haven't done practice. Okay, so let's hear more comments on why the 3 P's are important. Why practice is important, so that we can share it with the other guys in the webinar. This is wonderful. Who else has typed in? Karanja is typing. Let's hear what you want to say, Karanja. It's beautiful. This morning, guys have lots of energy, lots of energy. So practice. This is my secret. This is a secret I want you to follow. Start small. Test whether it's working. Test your technique. Test your understanding of the market. Then gradually increase, gradually go up, gradually increase, gradually go up, keep going up, keep going up. So practice, practice, practice. Not very popular, but allows you to learn. Yes, George. Thank you, George, for so much participation. This is wonderful. So practice allows you to learn with time. You see, we have the tendency to think that when you have read something, you've attended a workshop, you've read, you've learned, you educated yourself. We tend to think that we actually now know it. That's not true. You only know it when you've done it, not when you've read it from a book. I encourage the books. The books they sow some seeds. They put some seeds in there, but unless you test it in the real market, it's not it's not it's not it's not knowledge. It's not knowledge. So Karanja says practical shows the outcome and can adjust positive. Wonderful. Yeah. Thank you very much. So you've got to go through stage 2. Practice, 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 practice. And I have a system that I help guys to do that in a controlled environment. When you play a game, for example, if you're one of those guys who play games, online games, you know that if you lose in the online game, you don't die. You don't you don't lose money. But in the real world, if you lose, you lose. There's no going back. So I have a place where I show guys how to do this practice in a controlled environment where I'm watching over you. Yeah. When you're doing the wrong thing, I'll tell you, hey, hold on a minute there. You're likely to mess up. So let's go back and check the fundamentals. Let's go back and check the fundamentals. Wonderful. We have another comment. Let me see. Oh, yes, James says practice allows you to tune in the frequency and language of the industry. This is so great, James, because um, everything that has been done has a formula. I think this is what James is alluding to, and it's true. Everything that has been done has a formula. The question is, do you know the formula? Do you know the formula? So how do you test whether you know the formula? Yes, practice. You want to tune up, you want to check whether you're connected to the right bandwidth, so to speak, to the right frequency, to the right station. Yeah, because every industry has its own language. Every industry has its own methodology. Okay, wonderful, James. This is brilliant. Okay, we are doing great, James. Gentlemen and ladies, we are going to the third stage. The third stage in the 5 stage in the roadmap. The third stage in the roadmap. Now, things are getting momentum. I said you need to follow these stages. the way they are arranged chronologically. Things are getting momentum now. We have the target. We know what we are shooting at, and we have some practice. We've done some practice. We've bought one, two, yeah, we bought three. We know how this thing is. We have the hang of it. Yeah. So what are we supposed to do in the third stage? We are supposed now to to put in some more gas, accelerate a little bit. Now we know how to change gears. So we want to accelerate a little bit. So what are you going to do to accelerate a little bit? Real estate is expensive. Real estate requires huge capital. So how are you going to accelerate your speed of acquisition? Using other people's money. Okay. And that methodology is called leverage. Leverage is a simple system. It's a system that allows you to borrow money from the bank, borrow money from the circle, borrow money from elsewhere, so that you can now handle a bigger portfolio. Never rush to borrowing to handle a portfolio that you do not understand. Okay. That's why practice precedes leverage. It precedes, huge investment outlay. It 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 precedes doing mega stuff, mega things. So this solves the problem that most people have of lack of money. Most people think you must have the money to invest in real estate. That's not true. You can use the bank's money. You can use the circle's money. You can use other people's money. I actually have a class where I teach people six six other alternative methods of financing your real estate acquisitions other than the bank. All those six methods are available to you. But how are you going to implement them so that they can help you handle a bigger portfolio? So you need mastery of leverage. You need to understand that real estate is one of the asset classes that out there in the market is allowed to be leveraged upon. In other words, the very property that you are buying, the very property that you're buying. I told you yesterday I was in Boro Boro. So the very property that my client is buying, that property in Boro Boro, is the same security that we're going to use to borrow. Now, that gives you a lot of advantages. It gives you a lot of advantages. It means if you have some little money, you can buy a property that is bigger than the amount of money that you have. And therefore, it follows that as real estate grows in value, as real estate gives you cash flows, your equity is growing at a faster rate than if you bought the small property. Look at it this way. If you have 3 million, for example, and you want to invest in real estate so that you build a portfolio, if you bought that property for 3 million, now it's growing, it's giving you money. But your friend who had the same amount of money buys a 9 million property. Okay. Who's going to arrive at the destination faster? Definitely the guy who bought the one for 9 million. Okay. So there is a sequence, there's a system, there is a technique that is used so that you don't endanger yourself by over leveraging. Yeah. So what leverage does, and this is a stage also that is missed by many people, and in most of the cases it is used in the wrong sequence. Most people start with leverage. They go straight, boom. They have no mastery of targets. They have no mastery of the three P's. They go, boom, straight to the bank. They buy a property on leverage. Now, imagine you bought the wrong property on leverage. You bought the wrong property on borrowed money. Now, how disastrous that can that be? This is one of the things that Susan was struggling with. She felt she has this nice portfolio that she has been able to acquire over time, but it was such baggage. It was so heavy. She was almost giving up. She was probably that property in Maritime was going to be her last acquisition because she was heavy. She was carrying a lot of load. So leverage is beautiful, but when implemented in the wrong sequence, can lead to disaster. So you've got to first master the three stages before you go to the final stage, which is no, I mean to the third stage, which is now using other people's money. Now, using other people's money is beautiful, it's wonderful. That's how all these properties you see in town, from the tallest to the smallest, if they belong to somebody who has mastered real estate investment, you will find that leverage was involved. Some form of leverage was involved. Because what that does is that it accelerates. If you're going to Mombasa and you use leverage, it's like, before, when you're going to Mombasa using the bus, ulikuwa unapanda pale Mombasa Raha, unashuka Mombasa in 8 hours. Leverage umeenda SGR, umegonga SGR, uko ndani hapo 4 hours, uko Mombasani. Yeah, you know. And there's you can you, if you master it very well, it's you can also go and take a plane. If you master it very well, you've got a solid portfolio. It's working in tandem, in a sequence that is supposed to be happening. You get to Mombasa in 1 hour, in 50 minutes. You take a plane. Yeah. So there are all these processes that are involved when you are leveraging on real estate. They are easy to learn, but you have to do the previous stages. You have to know what target is important for you. You have to do practice, practice, practice. Then you come in and use leverage. Leverage helps you move fast. Leverage helps you handle a portfolio bigger than you could handle. And let me remind you what we said at the beginning. We said that every acquisition should be positioned to help you do the second acquisition and the third. So, how do we position leverage so that it can help you with the second and the third acquisition? Okay. The formula that we use is in the fourth stage. You leverage cash flowing properties. You leverage cash flowing properties. When you leverage cash flowing properties, it means the properties give you more momentum than you had. Previously, you were relying on the money that is coming from your salary, the money that is coming from your business. But now you have your money coming from your business, money coming from your salary, plus money coming from the real estate. How awesome can that be? How awesome that can be. So, why is mastery of pipelines? This is the fourth stage, guys. We are in the fourth stage already. Why is mastery of leverage very crucial? I mean, mastery of pipelines very crucial. This is the reason why it is crucial. We are faced with limited resource. We are faced with a certain amount of money that you have in your pocket. You're faced with a certain amount of money that comes to you every other month. But you want to build a portfolio. How do you build a portfolio when you have limited resources? Maybe you're able to do 100,000 every month. You're able to do 50,000 every month. You're able to do 20,000 every month. How are you going to build a portfolio? Now, this is why it is important to master pipelines. Pipelines work very beautifully, in if we use the water system in providing availability of water. In the book I shared with you how my dad had to connect the family to a water pipeline after an experience I had with one of the workers. And the thing was that this picture here is not my picture, it's not me there, but really it's the story that I was trying to explain there. Is we used to go 7 kilometers away to fetch water from a dam on Saturdays, and the workers used to do the same during the week. And in one of those days, we did something stupid. We forced the bus to grace, and the cart hit the rickshaw, hit a stone, and we rolled over. And unfortunately nobody got injured. But if you have read the story, there that it was a big disaster. It was a big disaster. And when that happened, is that my dad found the formula. He found the reason to really reconnect the family to the water system for the community. And because the pipes had been vandalized before, and he had like sort of given up and said, no, I'm not doing this thing all over again. But because of that disaster, because we flipped, and the guy I was working with, Moko, was almost to be killed in that experience. But fortunately, we rolled off at the riverbed, and there was a lot of sand that accommodated the shock for him. so, so he didn't get injured. But the lesson is so profound. Most people, we've been brought up and taught what I call textbook culture. Most people go to the dam every 30th. We go to the salary, we go to the job, we are paid, you know, we are paid. And if the dam was to dry up, then there would be no water in the homestead, because we are not connected to the pipeline. We rely on the dam. So the idea here is to stop relying on reservoirs, because reservoirs dry up, and more importantly, you have to physically go and get the water from the reservoirs. So what's the idea here? The idea is we are transitioning active income, your salary, your business income, into a pipeline. When you buy a piece of real estate that gives you rent, and you've used your business income, you've used your salary, you've leveraged, you've done stage number three, and you've used your salary, and now the money is coming in. You've just cured a big problem for the rest of your life. You've created a system that will be giving you money month on month, anytime you buy an income generating property. You've created a mint. You've created a money printing press that that prints money every 30th for you. And the beauty of that is that it helps you create more money printing properties if you position it properly. If you position your properties in in the right way, if you leverage them in the right way, they will be propelling you to acquire even more income generating properties, so that your pipeline actually grows bigger and bigger and bigger every month. What we did with Susan, as I have explained in the book, The Roadmap, is that when she understood this concept, and she did the first property and she did the second, it became very easy now to do the third and the fourth. It became very easy for her to do the third and the fourth. So the first and the second are usually the most difficult. That's what I usually tell my clients. In the programs that I run, the first and the second are the most difficult, because you're using your energy, you're using all the power that you have. But the third, the fourth, the fifth are much easier, because you're being propelled by the first and the second that you acquired before, because they are raising income into your portfolio, they are raising income into your pipeline. So this fourth stage has to be preceded by the previous stages. Here's a mistake that most people do. And like that article I was reading on Facebook yesterday, where people say real estate is bad, real estate is crazy, the real estate is overpriced. Now, the market doesn't belong to anyone. It's true. I agree with you. I'm a valuer. I agree with you. Presently, Kenyan real estate is overpriced. But what are you going to do? Are you going to give up? Are you going to say you're not going to buy real estate because it is overpriced? Yeah. The market responds to forces. It is overpriced because people are buying. So it's up to you now to understand, how do I position myself in this overpriced market? because you can wait. There, I remember selling an apartment in Kileleshwa in 2004 to a client of mine. That was 4.5 million. That sounded like the most ridiculous acquisition ever. 2004, a two-bedroom apartment in Kileleshwa. I sold it for 4.5 million, and it was ridiculous. It felt like that was the biggest amount of money anyone can use on an apartment, on a two-bedroom apartment. Today, how much is a two-bedroom apartment in Kileleshwa? Probably 13 million, 14 million. So the market doesn't wait for anyone. So how are you going to position yourself in this crazy market of ours and still create your own portfolio? I've given you the formula. I've given you the formula. And the formula is you follow the stages in the right order and put in income generating properties in the right format, leveraged and the right property class. Leverage and the right property class. In my workshops, I usually show people the calculations to do. We don't have the time today to do that, but the idea is that you want to acquire properties that have good performance. They have good rent to value ratio. You want to acquire properties that have good rent to value ratio. Yesterday, I was talking to one of my clients who finished an acquisition early in the year, and she was able to get a 12 million property that is giving her rent of 100,000. That's a beautiful rent to value ratio. 12 million property, income of 100,000. That is a beautiful rent to value ratio. So now that she's connected that pipeline into her ecosystem, that income that is coming in from that property and the value that is growing from the acquisition will help her acquire the next acquisition. That's the idea. It will help you acquire the next acquisition because you have limited resource, you have limited amount of money. If you wait to rely on your salary, to rely on your business income, you'll only buy one acquisition and that's it. Before you know it, you're retired, and that property is giving you money that is not adequate to sustain your livelihood. So, what is the aim of today? What is the aim of the roadmap? The roadmap is supposed to help you create a portfolio, create, if you want to, one of the things that I do when we are doing the discovery session is we discuss how do you want to retire? How much do you want to be receiving when you retire? Okay, you put in down there a number. So, how do we fund this number? We're going to fund it with a series of properties, with a portfolio, not with one property, not with one acquisition. So the roadmap is supposed to help you discover how your path will look like so that you get to that position, you get to that equity level where you're actually receiving the adequate amount of money that can set you free. So the first stage is crucial in propelling you forward, helping you. Once you've done the pipeline helps you connect another bigger pipeline and another bigger pipeline until you reach, the desired destination. We called it the roadmap because we are moving from one position in life to another position in life. So we need a map, we need a roadmap, we need something that will take us there. Okay, guys, let me hear what you're learning from the third and the fourth stages. That is leverage. Why is leverage crucial? Why is leverage crucial? Crucial. And why are pipelines crucial? Yeah, why are pipelines? I want to know, you guys, whether you're benefiting from this. Are pipelines crucial? Let me hear whether you guys are benefiting from this. Let me hear whether you're connecting the dots. Whether you're connecting the dots. Um, Steve Jobs said you can only connect the dots backwards. That's why we are using the backward thinking method. That's why we're using the backward thinking method to connect the dots. backwards. Let me hear you guys comment. Let me hear you guys say that this is wonderful. This is beautiful. This is this is helping you understand how you're going to run your investments. Come on, guys. Let me know. So leverage is important. Ted says that leverage is important to accelerate the growth of your portfolio. Wonderful. You got it right. You got it right. Pipelines is crucial to prepare you to invest for the next piece. Wow, beautiful. This is wonderful, Ted. This is beautiful. You got the ideas. You got the technology now. Let's see what Steve has to say. Who else is benefiting from this? Who else is typing to tell us something? Let me see what Steve had to say about leverage and about um, pipelines, connecting pipelines. You know, pipelines are very, very crucial in any form of investment. Actually, pipelines is probably one of the main reasons why people get into investments in the first place. Wonderful, wonderful. Oh, yes. Steve says that Taylor said what he wanted to say. Wonderful, wonderful. What is Laban going to say? Yes, brilliant, guys. I can see you typing. Let's hear what you have to say. So Laban says leverage is essential to accelerate growth, distribute risk, and wonderful. You guys are awesome today. You guys are awesome. Uh, you're saying exactly what I am trying to put across. Kimani says I'm getting a lot of wonderful Kimani, wonderful Kimani. I appreciate all that feedback. Now let's go to the final stage. This is the apex, the final stage, the apex. And Laban says mastery of pipelines also helps manage risk. Exactly. Exactly. Beautiful. You guys are awesome. You guys are awesome. Beautiful. So, stage five. Hmm. Mastery of the spring effect. Ha. This is what every investor wishes to master. The spring effect. The spring effect is a position where you get to and things start flowing automatically. Things start flowing in a very organized, very easy way. You know, the investors who started doing these investments 10 years ago, 15 years ago, are not worried about COVID-19. They're not feeling so much shock, you know, is because they have a portfolio that is very solid. You know, the spring is installed in a car so that it can give you a smooth ride. You know, when you hit a bump, the wheel goes down to accommodate the downward movement. I mean, a bump, the wheel goes up to accommodate the upward movement. But when you go to a pothole, the wheel goes down to accommodate the hole, as it were. So when you have done the four stages we discussed earlier, when you know your target, you know what you're doing. Number two, you've got practice, so you're seasoned, you're advanced, you understand this thing. Yeah, you have leverage, you're using other people's money, you've spread risk, what you guys are saying, and you have pipelines bringing in the money. Hey, what that means is that you have such a robust system that doesn't get shocks, doesn't get bundled up because something small has showed up, or the market is either going down, because nobody knows what the market is going to do tomorrow. The market goes up, the market goes down, the market goes sideways. So the fifth stage is supposed to now catapult you to wherever you want to go. It's supposed to take you to the stars, as it were. Let me go back to Susan. When she started with the roadmap, she was working hard. She was using all her energy. She was using all the money she could collect around, save from her work. But today, Susan is able to acquire, a 15 million property, a 25 million property, a 30 million property without going to her pocket. How does that sound, guys? You being in a position to acquire a 20 million property without going to your pocket. Basically, the bank comes and tells you, hey, how are you doing? We can see your incomes are coming in pretty good, and we are holding several properties for you in 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 uh, in our mortgage department. We are holding several properties for you, and we noticed that you haven't used the equity that is building up on those properties. So the bank asks you, what do you want? What do you want? So you tell them, okay, there's a property that I found that is giving me good rental income, so I'd like to buy it. So what do you want me to do? They tell you, just bring us the title. What we're going to do is we do some further charges here and there. I don't know whether we have the lawyers in the house. They're going to do further charge on one or two properties, and they will pay for the property. They will pay 25 million because what they can see the value in the properties that you acquired in advance. Now, you cannot invoke stage five if you didn't invoke stage one, two, three, and four. Does that make sense, guys? You cannot enjoy smooth ride, the spring effect, something pushing you upwards, something carrying more weight for you. If you do not have streams of income, if you do not have leveraged portfolio. So the fifth stage, the final stage is actually you've actually reached the apex. You are a master. You have complete mastery of real estate. It's next to nature for you. It flows in your blood. It's working for you. Everything is like a well-oiled machine. Everything is working for you. How brilliant can that be? The spring effect is the ultimate stage that an investor gets into. You all read stories of our guys, the group these groups from Muranga, we hear the stories about them. So, how much do you think they enjoy the spring effect today? It's in billions. They enjoy the spring effect in billions. They are not worried about coronavirus. They are not worried about the market going south. They have properties that are in the CBD where everybody wants to have a shop, where everybody wants to have an office. They are just going to acquire more properties in the CBD. They're going to acquire more properties in the CBD, but they are only able to do that because they did the previous stages. I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. So, all these stages that we've talked about, you can learn them within a short period of time. You can test them within a short period of time, but you have to implement your roadmap over the long term. Okay, you have to implement your roadmap over the long term. So what do I usually do for people? I usually help people understand how they can implement their roadmap. You have the five stages now. I usually help people to get out of this bag that has beaten almost everyone, where people do what they see the other guy doing. Most people do what they see the other guy doing. Why? It's because that's how they found the system working. The market is chaotic. Everybody's up trying to offer advice. They have no experience, they have no education, they have no expertise in that industry. But they're offering you advice. They're telling you, yeah, you know what? Yeah, first thing when you get out of college, buy your house, buy your home. Well, that may be good advice if that is what your objective is. But if your objective is happy retirement, your objective is having passive income, your objective is financial freedom, you can wait. and first do an investment before you buy your first house. Okay. And you're going to disagree with your uncle. Okay. So what happens when you disagree with your uncle? Most people revert back to the advice from the uncle, and they end up, getting into acquisitions that are actually not taking them in the right direction. So what I have done is that I've created a systematic process. And actually, in the investor classes, that's what we do. That's what I do. One of the things that I do with my clients, the first thing when we meet up, the first thing when we connect online and we want to do, is I offer them something called a discovery session. The discovery session, we want to know where you are in the roadmap. You know, do you actually have the right targets? What are you doing? What have you bought? Is it the right asset class? We discuss that. What do you have in your portfolio? Is it working for you? In most of the cases, I find people have the wrong stuff in their portfolio. So if they keep that wrong stuff, it will weigh you down. So what you have to do is we have to realign it to the right sequence. We have to realign it now so that our roadmap can face north. It can face where we are actually going. Yeah. Then after the discovery session, after we've discussed one to one, not in a group, one to one, after we've discussed where you are, and we find what roadmap you're supposed to use, then I teach you how actually real estate works. I've been running workshops. You guys have been reading my emails. I've been running workshops over the last 5 years, and these workshops usually give guys the most important information, the most important knowledge you're supposed to know about real estate. I said at the beginning that most people have the wrong data. They have the wrong information. When they go out to the market and then they do stuff, they come back and ask themselves, okay, what did I do? Is it working for me? They realize it's not. So I give people that class where I show them how real estate actually works, how to overcome the obstacles that seem to be everywhere, so that you can use the path of least resistance. Then after we've done that, then we go into a 90-day challenge, a 90-day training and implementation system, where you actually going to do the stages. You're going to target, you're going to practice, 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 you're going to leverage, and you're going to connect pipelines within that period. When I'm overlooking your projects, when I'm listening, when I'm watching, when I'm showing you what to do, how to do it the right way. When you're making mistakes, I tell you, no, let's go back and reconsider this. This is not the way it works. So, how can you connect with me in order to do this, in order to implement the roadmap? You cannot connect with me by booking a discovery session. That's the first thing I usually do with my clients. We have to start somewhere. We have to connect. We have to see whether really we're going to work together and whether really you're actually up to getting into real estate. Okay. So the discovery session is about an hour to 2 hours max, where we discuss where you are positioned, where you want to go, and discover the route that you're going to use. That's exactly what we did with Susan about 15 years ago. And after that, then we do the classes. I take you through a foundation class. I call it Real Estate Investing 1.0. It's a foundation class. And after you've gone through that foundation class, now you're knowledgeable. Now you know how real estate works. And you also have the roadmap. You're not chasing shiny objects anymore. You have the roadmap. You have something to work with. Okay, so how do guys connect with me? You usually book a discovery session with me. Um, at this time, I'm offering a 70% off. Ordinarily, a discovery session goes for 25,000. Yes, it is a very important session where we actually discover the route, the road that you're going to use to go to your financial freedom via real estate. But in these times of Corona, I've decided to offer 70% off. I'm offering guys this session at only 7,500. And I'm throwing in the three classes for free. The cost for the three classes is usually 15,000. But when you do discovery session, you're telling me, Kilundo, I'm very serious. I want to move forward. I want to implement this thing. So I give you the three classes, the foundation class. It's 6 hours done in 3 days consecutively. I give you that as a bonus. And see if that is not enough. After your discovery session and after the classes, the three classes I've given you, I give you another free session to discuss how you're going to implement the roadmap based on the knowledge that I've given you. It's a complete package. Usually, that package usually goes for 52,000 uh, before Corona and before things became a little upside down. So I said I'll offer guys this opportunity to connect, to join the other people. I have a group of, I think it's about 250 guys who've done this program and are already implementing the acquisitions. Yesterday I was working with one of the clients who is going to buy that property in Umoja, no, in Buru Buru, to connect pipelines to her system. So what do I want you to do? What I want you to do is to take this number and book your session, you know, before I pull off the discount. And the number is, I have my payment system, is my booking system is a tail number here, 748479. It's a it's a is a is a is a it's a buy goods. Yeah, it's a buy goods. 748479 is a buy goods number to investor clinics. Book in your discovery session. Let's see what you have been doing. Let's see what portfolio you have. Let's see where you are. One day I had a discovery session with a client. He thought he was in Nairobi and he wanted to go to Mombasa, but actually he was in Miritini. He was already in Mombasa and he did not know. He had no clue that he was in Mombasa. And of course, I have also had other clients where they think they are starting the journey from Nairobi to Mombasa, but they're actually in Meru. Man, there's a lot of work that needs to be done before they can board to the SGI in Nairobi and head to Mombasa. So here is an opportunity for you to book in your discovery session, to book in an opportunity to have one-to-one with me, online, and we're going to discuss your present portfolio, whether it's working for you or it's working against you. Yes, it's possible. Real estate can work against you, and then we map out. Karanja is asking, the offer is valid until Wednesday. The class, we're going to have the class on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So you've got today, tomorrow, Monday, and Tuesday to book in your discovery session. So what we're going to do before the classes is we are going to have one-to-one with you. We're going to connect for 2 hours and look at your present portfolio. Look at what is working for you and what is not working for you. Then we are going to designate what properties you're going to acquire, actually, what properties you're going to acquire and how you're going to acquire them. It's a complete package, man. It's a complete package. You're going to use this package for the next 10 years. The package that I'm going to give you, you're going to use it for the next 10 years. You're probably going to teach your spouse. You're probably going to teach your children. Yeah. So this package is going to give you so much value. You probably, won't believe what is possible if you have the right alignment. If, just like James Udo said, the right frequency. Do you understand the language of real estate? Do you understand what the industry says? What are you going to acquire? that property you're going to acquire, is it moving you in the right direction, or it's puncturing a hole in your acquisition? Yeah. So there is the payment plan. If you want to use your credit card, there is a link here. It's basically bit.ly/discovery special offer. Discovery having a capital D, special having capital S, and offer having capital O. You can use your credit card or your ATM card or PayPal. You can complete your 7,500 booking for the discovery session, and you're going to get all this. You're going to get all this, as bonuses. The session usually goes for 25,000, and the three classes, module 1.0, usually goes for 15,000. And I will also put you into a membership place where you'll be getting more information, asking me questions anytime you want. That one is usually goes for 12,000. The total value that I'm offering you in this special offer is equivalent to 52,000. And I'm saying, you know what? Just pay 7,500. Let's get into the game. Let's discuss all that stuff that you have going forward, and let's grow together. Let's grow together. Let's do actual stuff, not just information. Not just information. I believe in pragmatic, way, doing things in a pragmatic way. Yeah, let's discuss things that you're actually going to do in the real market, not just giving you information on that. So thank you very much, guys, for connecting me. There's a number here where you can send your inquiries. I have a number here, 710 450 If you have inquiries, send an SMS to this number. Uh, I will respond after a couple of minutes or a couple of hours. Send your inquiry there. The till number is open, of course, throughout. You can book in your session so that you are in the next coming class. And I limit the number to 10. I usually don't work with so many people because I want personalized experience for everyone who is going into this game, because this is a real game now. We're not playing, we are working with your money. We are not playing a game here anymore. So book your session before all the slots are taken up, and let's connect on Monday, on Tuesday, or on Wednesday morning before the class starts on Wednesday evening. The class goes on at 8:30 p.m. Class is at 8:30 p.m. On those days that I've mentioned there, and we do the discovery session before we've gone to class, and everybody is understanding what we are trying to do in the class, and um, you're able to relate the material to what you actually want to do. Okay. So thank you, guys. It's been amazing. It's been energetic. It's wonderful. I'm very happy. Connect with me via that number for messages. Use the till number again. It's 74 till number 748479. Buy goods. Let's go to class. Let's go to class, guys. Let's go to class. Let's have this thing. If you have any questions, send them through. I'll be able to respond to them. And we shall be walking the roadmap together. All right. Any final question, guys? I want to attend to that before we go. Any final round of questions are welcome. So that I can wish you guys a wonderful weekend, and of course a beautiful investing journey together. All right, let's see, any final questions, any final questions. Okay. Yeah, I'm getting some messages. I'm responding to them. So, guys, you're free to unlog. So it's beautiful. I'm being very happy. Yeah, Karanja says, "Hope fellows with less capital are work." Of course, actually, with uh, uh, even no capital. Like I said, some material in the class will involve how you're going to finance, your acquisitions. Capital is usually not a requirement. Yeah, the class is 2 hours. Utu, you have a question? The class is 2 hours. Um, mm, the class is 2 hours, so it's 8:30 to 10:30. Is it possible that with your professional support and experience, one actually acquires large property? Yes, it's possible. It's possible, George. Yeah. For the present offering, I handle properties from whatever amount all the way to 100 million with the present offering that I give guys. But when properties goes beyond 100 million, we revert to the scale of fees for my professional undertakings. So yes, George, we support acquisitions for large properties. We support acquisitions for large properties. This is beautiful, guys. This is beautiful, guys. I'm very happy. So